Welcome to the MC Square Podcast. This is episode number 36, and Andrew and I have officially crested 2 full years of podcasting.
Yeah.
36 episodes in, start with this one today. Our first one was posted January 18th, 2022. So how far have we came since then? We came a long way.
Yes, we did.
We've tried a lot of things. Some things worked, some things didn't.
Yeah. It started out on your living room.
In our dining room table. Yes.
Yeah.
And so started small, tried some different things with guests and whatnot. We've done one live show at the fair.
We've done quite a few live this year.
Yeah.
We experimented with that. It's actually, I feel like it helped us get better because a lot of people don't realize early on the pre-recorded shows we had a lot of cuts. I mean, a lot of edits. Yeah. And now we screw up and we mess up and stuff, but we just keep going because it's just, nobody's got high expectations for us anyway. We're not. It's not like we're.
But you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody's interested in how to start a podcast, we got 2 years in. We can help them out with it.
Yeah. Talk to Jimmy.
Yeah. Talk to Andrew.
No, we got a jam-packed show
we do.
For you today. First of the year, 2025.
That's right.
Lots of things going on. It's pretty crazy because usually this time of year is a kind of a slow. This time of year is usually a pretty slow news time, but boy, not right now. There's just been a lot of things happen, so I'm anxious to get into it.
I got a fire in me. You're gonna set to burn.
All right, so what do you have? I know you have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we've got
your Twitter
all
here.
kinds of stuff. So I just figured a lot of people, don't realize what happens behind the scenes. We don't talk about what we're going to talk about very much. Actually, people would probably guess that because we're kind of fumbling through it when we're doing it. But we mentioned a few topics. There's some things that have occurred. Death of President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
In fact, his funeral, I'm sure he's going to lie in state or whatever, but his funeral is January 9th, which seems like a long ways from now.
It kind of does. It's not too far.
Yeah.
He's 100 years old.
Yeah, he's 100 years old. So.
Yeah.
Were you alive during his presidency at all?
No, I wasn't during Reagan.
Okay. So I was in kindergarten, and so it was a Christian school, so we would have prayer time, which is really cool if you think about it.
Yeah.
Schools today would just, obviously it was a Christian school, but so we would pray for the hostages every single day.
Oh yeah, that was a big.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. Even as a little kid, that was a big deal to me. We were praying for our hostages, and we prayed all year, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So it was like it was kind of traumatic. I mean, for me, and I knew about President Carter. My parents, I believe they, part of the Christian community back then, I believe they probably voted for Carter.
Yeah.
And the statistics I saw said there were quite a few evangelicals, not a majority or anything, but a lot of evangelicals voted for Carter first term.
Yeah, he got annihilated second time.
The second time, it was Katie bar the door. They just overran.
Yeah.
Evangelicals had nothing to do with him, and that's obviously his own fault. So my issue is the revisionist history that happens, and a lot of it, for some reason, happens out of the church, and I think it's because so many people in the church. I'd like to say that they don't want to be mean and they want to, see the positive in everybody and in everything. So they're real, but these are the same people that are trashing Trump. So I don't think that's actually the same equation there. Yeah. I think the bottom line is when you look at his presidency and then his post-presidency, I think everybody across the board will admit that his presidency was a disaster of epic proportions.
Yeah.
He was awful economically. He was not a leader. I think the problem that he had was he was a bleeding heart liberal. who masqueraded as a Christian, taught Sunday school, but he moved away from biblical Christianity very, very quickly. And in his post-presidency, he embraced gay marriage. He advocated, he was great with abortion. I mean, he was not in any sense of the word, what I would call a Christian. Now, he cared for the poor, and he participated in Habitat for Humanity.
That was one of his big things.
Yeah, and that's great, humanitarian. But I don't look at his post-presidency as any better than his presidency, because what he ended up doing was facilitating over and over again capitulation and a compromise with Hamas, with terrorists, Muslim terrorists all around the world, or North Korea, same thing. I mean, I remember during the Clinton administration, they had some issue with, I think there was a showdown going on with North Korea. It was a big deal diplomatically, and the next thing you know, unasked, Jimmy Carter's got an entourage going over there to North Korea to work it out. And the Clinton administration behind the scenes was furious. Mm-hmm. I mean, he consistently worked against official U.S. policy in every place that he would go. He was extremely friendly with the Muslims and Muslim extremists, and yet was silent in the face of real persecution, both of Jews and of Christians around the world. I mean, he was not on the right side of history.
Yeah, and he admitted, and I was reading a little bit about, kind of his history as his presidency, and I think that what he would put the star on his, or the feather in his hat would be his post-presidency, but he admitted that he just really wasn't tough enough. Not in those words, but he just wasn't strong enough as a leader to stand up against them. And I think that's probably why it showed so much in that next election, that they were looking for somebody who was going to be a little more tough with our enemies.
So during his presidency, and I looked this up today because obviously my recollections as a child, or whatever, but if you go back and look at it, so Iran is kind of the lasting legacy from the Carter presidency. Iran was under a monarchy, and it was free and westernized and a huge ally of the United States prior to Carter. In the beginning of his presidency, he said publicly he supported the Shah, which was the monarch, the king, but everything he did angered the people of Iran and the radical elements, and come to find out afterwards, which we now know through BBC reporting, which BBC is not by any means conservative, but that Carter was actually in secret talks with the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was the supreme Muslim tyrannical leader that took over in their revolution. And it was this revolution in Iran that took the hostages, 43 American diplomats. It was, and it's under that regime that Iran still suffers today. They are brutal. They are the source of the terrorism in and around Israel. They've supported Hamas. Hezbollah is actually their foot soldiers. They're completely supported by Iran. And they're a state sponsor of terror around the world. This is Carter's legacy.
Yeah.
And he was actually in talks with their military behind the scenes, which, face one way, but behind the scenes. And he was making sure that the military of Iran did not take them out, did not take the Ayatollah out. So he was actually found to be supporting what is there today. So Iranians hate him.
Because
they absolutely hate Jimmy Carter.
He kind of changed the trajectory of that country.
Thousands and thousands of people have been slaughtered in that country because of him. And not one word, not one. I mean, he's all over the world. I mean, he's condemning Israel every time he possibly can. He's meeting with Hamas. I mean, it's just, what bothers me more than anything, because he's just a typical liberal, what bothers me is the Christian face. And that's why I feel like I have to speak up to it a little bit, because it's, but he was a Christian and he taught the Bible. Well, there is a scripture, and it's a commandment in the New Testament, and believers are to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and sometimes we can be the most naive people on the face of the earth. This guy was no Christian. I mean, he was just no Christian. None of the fruit was there. I don't care that he cared for the poor. That's great. Lots of people care for the poor. It doesn't mean you are a Bible-believing Christian. Yeah. So,
head knowledge versus heart knowledge.
Yeah, well,
really
I mean, he's just absolutely against the Bible. I mean, where's the defense of the unborn? I mean, it's just all that stuff. It's just whatever.
On a positive note, though, I was looking. I was doing a little bit more research on his wife. Yeah, she was pretty amazing, actually. Rosalind. He was married to her for his entire. I mean, after he got out of the military. Yep. And she helped him a lot, actually. She wrote speeches for him. She wrote different things for him.
While he was president, or
I think it was while he was president she assisted, and then even afterwards. But the one positive thing is that, and I read this, is that he said that everything, maybe she didn't want to be associated with what he did, but everything that he did, she did too. So it was always a team. Oh, yeah. They were always a team together in it. But it seems like she had a lot of maybe more leadership qualities than maybe he did.
I mean, he had no leadership qualities.
I know. And I really think that she tried to assist with that because those are things that you can't learn.
But how does someone like that rise to the presidency? I think that was what was stunning. I mean, America at the time, I mean, think about it. Gerald Ford, you had Nixon, you had the resignation, he was going to be impeached. You had Gerald Ford, one-term president. You had the aftermath of Vietnam War. I mean, I think that generation and at that time was so jaded and so bitter towards America. I mean, good people were just sick of it. And I think Carter he was not a traditional Democrat. He was not known as a left-wing. I mean, he was, but he wasn't known that way. And he comes off as this Christian, and we just come out of the Jesus movement. So there was actually somewhat of a spiritual revival had gone on in America. Yeah. And I think people were hungry for something, glomming onto him because of that. And but leadership matters. I love it when people are Christians. I really do. And President Trump, I believe, he professes things, and that's great. But if he was not a phenomenal leader on the right side of history of things, I wouldn't support him. Just because you name the name of the Lord does not mean anything to me if there's not fruit behind it. And leadership is hugely important. So.
Yeah, and so anyway. His big thing was Habitat for Humanity. I think that's one of the things he started.
And that's a great program.
It really is, and it's continued. Yep. And that's one real positive of it.
Yeah, I agree.
He lived a long time, peanut farmer. Yeah, right, and it kind of took the business from his parents. Yeah, and he actually had a smaller share than his siblings did. But I'm guessing through some whatever connections he had, it became a really big business. And I think that's where a soft Southern guy coming in, that's probably what the American people thought at that time we needed.
I think people were very hopeful. And things were already bad, and he just made things worse, unfortunately.
It's too bad.
But you know what? Here is the positive. You want to talk about the positive? He gave us 8 years of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
He did. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have gotten Reagan if it wasn't for the disaster of Carter's presidency. And when Reagan came in, there was an immediate sea change of patriotism and strength, and those hostages were released before the inauguration. I mean, it was just a turn. And,
so are you predicting 4 years of Trump, 4 years of Vance then?
Oh, I hope. No, I don't know. I can't predict anything at this point. Well,
coming out of the softer presidency that we had over the last 4.
Well, Biden brought us another Trump. And if you look at Obama, I don't think there's any doubt. If you didn't want Trump the first time, you shouldn't have been voting for Obama. I mean, with these radical leftists that tear down the country, if you're talking moderates, they don't ultimately want the country destroyed. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, they may lean left. They may put up with things that are, pro-choice, and they, live and let live. But ultimately, if a party has become so radical that they are literally, the transgender stuff, the open borders where they're just pouring over, the racial hatred and strife that was the hallmark of Obama's presidency, all of these things. I just think there's a revolt against that in the heart of the country is still, thank God, rooted in conservative, traditional American values. Yeah, if we can preserve that, we've got a shot at preserving that for our children. Yeah. All right, so we've got more. We've actually got a jam-packed a lot of stuff. So we probably won't get to everything because we don't want to go on forever. But so we've got we've got a thing locally people are really upset about, and this kind of is something that we want to talk about the ARPA funds. I think we should talk about this because this is crazy. So, what is it? The American Rescue Plan Act. Everybody knows about this kind of stuff. It's in every community in America. So we all remember COVID. Government shut mom and pop businesses down, shut us all down. 2 weeks to slow the spread, and then it went on further. And then if you opened, then you could open so restrictively, especially if you're talking restaurants or gyms, so restrictively, beauty parlors, that you really couldn't make a profit. Yeah. One customer in, take care of them, let them out, nobody around. I mean, that's not how economically you can survive. So the government shut us down, and then it was kind of like this ridiculous. The disease was not the problem; it was their solutions, and it was the influx of communism. Because then they do this bailout of the American people and everything, and they pass these massive spending bills to then compensate all of us for what they had done to us to save us from ourselves. Yeah. So. We've been over that. I mean, everybody's talked about these things, and so that's water under the bridge, except recently there was an award of a bunch of new ARPA money, and it went to a bunch of local businesses, and it was put out by there was definitely different places, Channel 10. I mean, all the news were reporting it. I think the mayor had it on his website of the different businesses, and I don't want to call them out. No. Because I don't have any problem with the businesses that got the money. But people are outraged because it doesn't make sense, and especially this far after the fact. It's 2025 now, but 2024, they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of these are bars and snow cone businesses and
small businesses.
And some of the United Way got a bunch. But I wanted to read something. I actually looked up like how ARPA works. I asked Grok. I broke down and asked Grok, which is the AI search engine information, whatever from that Elon has on X. And, a lot of people use ChatGPT or some of these other ones. But anyway, this is a line that really struck me, Jimmy. Yeah. And it said, the eligible uses of the ARPA funds can be, one of them is revenue replacement. These funds can replace lost public sector revenue due to the pandemic, allowing governments to maintain services up to the amount of revenue lost. So get this. This is all taxpayer dollars. And what really bothers me is that this is couched publicly as grants. All these folks got grants. Yeah. We got grants are something that a private entity puts together a large amount of money, and then you're given this because you qualified through an essay or whatever it is. That's above board. That's that individual or nonprofits, organizations' money. They can do whatever they want with their money. This is taxpayer dollars. This is your money. This is my money. This is your money, and here it is going out to pay people. Supposedly who suffered during COVID, but it's 4 years after the fact, so it's a little sketchy there, but this is still left over. And they can give it to themselves because they shut businesses down, so therefore they've lost tax revenue because they've shut you down, so therefore they can pay themselves back what they think you might have made if they hadn't destroyed your business. That's outrageous. Mm-hmm. This is unbelievable.
What, 35? What was the total that was given? 35 billion. The 350 billion was given. I know that Terre Haute, Vigo County, and Terre Haute received two separate amounts, totaling about $56 million.
Okay.
And they've been slowly spending it over time on different entities. The mayor has there's a website, actually. It's not the mayor's website, but there's a website that shows everything that's been spent on. I think a lot of these things were there was 1.5 million that was given to essentially the United Way to say this is going to go towards grants because the government doesn't do a great job on granting money. So they wanted to use the United Way as kind of a holder for it, and then people
Which is bizarre too. I mean, it's just all bizarre.
It is, but I mean,
so the bottom line is, let's put ARPA aside, let's put COVID aside. We have to determine that we can't do this again.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
key.
this is communism. This is taking hardworking people's money, tax dollars, because it came from somewhere, and it only comes from people who work, and it's taking their tax dollars and it's giving it out as they see fit. And you're right, it's not the government. So there's this panel of people that are unelected, unaccountable, that decide where this money goes from.
Yeah.
Again, it is. I'm not assassinating or going after anybody that's doing this now, because this has all been set up. It's a huge structure that was set up to fix all of this. But this is, folks, if you want to know why we had inflation of 30% in 2022, this is the reason. This is the government printing money. This is massive deficits. We don't have this money. This is all borrowed money on future taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable what we did during COVID. Shutting down healthy businesses beyond the fact, but then also going out of our way to bankrupt our own country to do this. It's just really sad. And I don't talk about ARPA a lot. I don't talk about this stuff. In fact, I don't know if I've ever talked about this in 2 years.
Yeah.
But because it bothers me so much. And it's also couched that it's a two-headed thing, because there's also, quote, economic development. And the state does this. And the same kind of thing. We set up a whole panel. We'll do these grants. And I know you said the government doesn't do a good job, because they don't, of granting money. But on the economic development side, separate from ARPA, statewide, we've done this like crazy. The stuff that they're giving out for, wealthy people to build hotels in downtown Terre Haute. I mean, they gave $3 million, something like that. I mean, this is the stuff that it's taxpayer dollars. You're figuring out who you want to give this money to stimulate the economy. It is. I mean, I don't know what they're teaching in high schools, and I don't know what they're teaching in colleges, but this is Marxism economics. This is not free market economics, and we will reap the reward of this, which is inflation, which is our dollars not worth as much, and it also a dependency class of people that their business wouldn't make it in the free market without government money. I mean, there's a great business in town, and I will not mention who they are. Again, I blame the system. I'm not blaming any of the businesses that are taking this money. Jimmy, we talked about it.
Yeah,
if we were eligible for it, we would sign up for it. Hey, it's there. I get it. I'm not mad at any of that. But the system is wrong, and it's economically, it is not doing good. It's doing harm. And you have a business. I won't mention what they are. People love them. They all rave about them. It's all great. But they admitted that they need government money. And this is a public, there's nothing they're doing that should be in any way be getting money from the government. And they are not just applying for ARPA, because it's not, but they're applying for these economic development grants. And there are political leaders, they're advocating for this. Jimmy, I don't understand that. I'm sorry. Maybe I am from a different era, but I do not understand taking taxpayer dollars just to give to a business that you like. What is that? I mean, they're not building roads. Yeah. There's nothing connected to the central role of government, which is to protect you, take care of essential services, and
I mean, there was some money. There was quite a bit of money that was spent on. There's some for the bridge project that they're going to do. 13th Street Bridge.
Well,
There's
that's
a lot of
good.
money that went to that.
Yeah.
But I think that what most people are fired about are these ones of this 1.5 million that went to these businesses that wrote grants. And what it looks like, I think if you're a politician, what it looks like is we're giving back to the community and we're growing the community, but when money's given like that, I don't think
it helped one business to get an alcohol license. I mean, that's what it's going to be used specifically. What it's being used for. You're just like, really?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean,
that. Well, this is the whole thing. Is that I think what I would like to see in 2, 3, 4 years from now, how many of these businesses, and I hope they do, but can sustain.
Right.
Or
right.
Are they going to make large purchases? This is a one-time thing.
Right.
This is not like a sustainable.
Right.
This isn't going to do your payroll for the next 3 years.
No.
And so I hope it doesn't happen, but 2, 3 years down the road from now, there might be these places that are closing
money was
up.
Absolutely a waste of taxpayer dollars.
At that point, it probably would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't happen.
But there won't ever be any accountability for that. That's the thing.
No, I know, because it'll be all 2, 3 years ago, and
Right.
And so
I'm just saying, dear God, can we just please, if this ever happens again, not go the route we went?
they messed up. The federal government messed up,
Yeah.
and then this is how they're trying to make up for it,
Right.
Because they
Which
know
is just
they
making it
messed
worse.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we nailed that
Anyway.
one down, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see why people look at the list and they get worked up.
Oh
about
yeah,
it,
and
for sure.
I don't want to go through the list because again, it's not any of the business's fault. I'm not blaming any of them. And so if we were to read you can go read them. They're out there. It's all public, and they're people just really angry. And I understand it because at this point it feels like what is going on? How in the world are private businesses getting millions of dollars? For what? For no reason, and it's just.
Well, I think our underlying, and so this is me. So our underlying problem isn't okay. So let me speak about one place that received money, which I'm a fan of.
Okay,
is the Excel Center? Have you seen the Excel Center? So it was one that received money. It's the Goodwill Excel Center. I believe it's in the Meadows right now, and it's specifically
what's its purpose?
Its purpose is to help people finish their degree, their high school education.
Okay, yeah.
And so they were given quite a bit of money.
I don't
to do
think
that.
too many people are upset at that.
No, like that kind of
No.
stuff. I think we need to take
I'm
the
talking
population of Terre Haute.
bars
Yeah, I know.
and restaurants.
I know. Well, I think that's what happens when you turn it over to something like
Yes.
an entity that's going to be granting it out.
Right.
Is you get good grant writers that are able to do that, or people,
Yeah.
and now you can write a grant with an AI.
Well,
so,
it's just
it
it's
might
just
be-
it's just
might be
a
easier to
bad
do.
system because, for example, just these people are in charge of this are people too. Say you've got a political persuasion that they don't like. That's a business owner.
Yeah.
And fully deserving of some of these funds, and that person's never going to get it. Never going to see a dime. And I'm not accusing this group. I'm just saying theoretically, this is just not how economy works. This isn't how a free market works. It's not sustainable. It is harmful to our dollar, the value of our dollar. It
is
goes
harmful to
down.
the value of the dollar.
And so where's this money coming from? This is very, very important. Whose money is it? It is not the government's money.
the government.
It is the people's money. The government doesn't produce anything.
Yeah.
They only take. And now they're redistributing it.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be happy about it. And people aren't. Some people are. I hope we get away from this system. It doesn't look like we are going to. This economic development thing, it's like the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. The Republicans are just as bad as Democrats about this. They love it. The economic development will take this tax dollars and we'll build something here. We'll do something. And I'm not talking about infrastructure and roads, things that we're supposed to be spending the money on. I'm talking about just, I don't want to go through the list. It's just dumb stuff that you're like, really?
Well, there's been an assessment in our community that looks at what are major low-hanging fruit that we need to fix.
Yeah.
It's transportation.
Right.
It's wages people
Housing.
housing
Right.
and food insecurity, Andrew, and it's something we probably don't think about, but food insecurity. So what I would have loved to see built into this is something, if you're giving money to a restaurant, okay, what are you going to charge?
Right.
Are you going to drop your charges? Are you going to make it more affordable?
See-
Are you going to go out and give it to people who can't come in?
Right.
Are you going to be able to? That's if we want to build the city or build the county up, we really need to go after those people that are struggling at the bottom.
Right.
And by giving somebody a bigger building to put their restaurant in or whatever it would be, it's fine. But it's not really fine because you're not helping them. They still can't put 2 nickels together to buy food.
But that's not the fault of the restaurant. That is just.
But that's where this money should have gone. It should have gone to that.
But that's not a long-term fix. I mean, again, that's
the education piece is.
Yeah.
I mean, that does help.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm a free market guy. I mean, it's just when freedom comes into the economy and people are able to keep what they earn, you will see a rising tide lift all boats, and you will see the poor begin to disappear, and you will see those on the bottom reach for the middle class, and the middle class reach for the upper class, and you will see upward mobility, and it comes from folks being able to keep more of what they earn.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're taxed to death as it is now, and now they're just giving it willy-nilly to whoever they feel that they've harmed. Anyway, we've talked enough about that. So this is interesting. Unless you had something else to say on that.
Let's talk about the bills.
Okay, so there's been a whole host. As you know, it is a new legislative season. Some new representatives. A friend of mine, Ethan Lawson, he got elected, which is pretty cool. He was worked with Eric Holcomb most recently. I don't know. I hate to say I don't know what his role was there, but it was pretty high up. But I met him years ago. He's a homeschool family out of I'm going to say Hendricks County. That may be wrong. Anyway, but he was when I was running for Congress, and he was. I don't know what he was. Somehow he was down around at all these Lincoln days that I was going to. Anyway, great guy, and he got elected. I think Greenfield is the area that he got elected from, so that's But anyway, so there's a whole bunch of new representatives, both Senate and House in the Indiana House legislative branch, and so this lady reporter
they're trying to
this is interesting. So she said these are initial bills filed. This was on December 30th, so maybe some new things since then. But looking through a few of these, this was interesting. So requires the governor, one of them, SB 20, so this is a Senate bill, requires the governor to terminate any contract/agreement entered into between the state and a partner that is based in or owned by a foreign adversary. That's interesting. Prohibits IEDC, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, from establishing a foreign office located in the territory of a foreign adversary. So who are they? Now, the interesting thing that'll be, what are they?
Who's a foreign adversary?
Yeah, right. I think they may be going after China or Iran on that, but my guess. That'll be very controversial and probably go nowhere.
Yeah,
Jim
most
Toms,
of these will.
Senate Bill 24. Jim Toms, our friend from Evansville, he's the one that came up when I first ran for state rep, and spoke that we had that
down at
we had a meeting at the gun club in Riley, and so Jim Toms came up and it spoke to us, and he was really interesting. Anyway, he filed a bill that said provides that certain insurance providers may not request to raise the insurer's rate more than 10% in any 1 year. That would be nice.
Okay, so that's what I was listening to a little bit about this, and so I don't want to send you to another podcast, but if you're interested in this and healthcare costs, Tucker just did a podcast.
Oh, really?
And it was with a guy named Brigham Buell, and it's an hour and a half long, but it is extremely interesting. And you start listening to this Brigham Buell. He actually worked as a pharmaceutical rep, and then he worked as a medical sales rep. And everything he says, because I'm from the healthcare community, is true.
Oh, really?
And the insurance companies have so much control. And you start talking about hospitals and all these other things. Hospitals are 100% under the thumb of the insurance companies. And it kind of goes, and we would never condone this at all, but the United Healthcare, the executive that was killed.
Right.
There's been a lot of research done after this, and because it kind of shed a little light on it, like, that was a terrible act, never should have been done. But started looking a little bit at this. United Healthcare is one of these massive insurance companies that has insane control, and the way they use medications is mind blowing. If you watch Tucker's podcast, it's amazing. They are. And we see it all the time. They are not fighting chronic disease. They are working with the pharmaceutical companies to get people on medications and then delay treatments. And if you've heard about this before, prior authorizations, medical necessity, all of these words, that's the insurance company delaying actual care for people so that you can stay on these medications longer. Wow. And so they're feeding money back in by all these denials. And that's what they continue to do over and over. And that podcast is really good if you want to start talking about why that's really important. That 10% is nothing. I mean, they could raise way more than that. But the whole problem is that's an Indiana thing. And that's great for Indiana, but this is a national problem. Yes. And it's one of the things I'm kind of really excited about RFK going after.
Yeah, I am too.
Because he actually, this is something that's going to have to be unpacked over probably a decade to get on the other side of it. But some of his ideas are so good when it comes to this. This guy that they had on, actually really interesting what he has set up is, it's 100% true. So you go to your doctor, and you go to your doctor for a checkup, and what do? Well, they draw some blood. They do a lipid panel. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like the most small little section of blood tests they could do. A lot of places that are disconnecting themselves from insurance companies are going in saying, okay, $500, we're going to do a full panel on you.
Right.
We're going to do everything. We're going to look cancer markers and everything and let you know, because with these, there's blood tests right now. They can look 5-6 years in the distance to see if you're going to get cancer. And they can tell you right now, hey, you possibly could get cancer.
Yeah.
So you need to change your lifestyle right now.
Right.
And people will do that. I really think, not everybody, but a lot of people will do that if they have the freedom. But those insurance companies will deny those physicians from ordering all those medications if you're relying on your insurance to pay for it.
That's crazy.
They're actually denying that and causing more chronic disease than treating chronic disease, because chronic disease to them, an obese, chronically diseased America makes more money for them.
It's a cash cow for them.
It absolutely is. Yep. And it's mind-blowing how deep it is.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, and
I don't think it surprises, but that is sickening, isn't it?
Yeah, and then what's our answer? Because if there's a place that you could go that's separated, which I think there is one in town that's separated, and you can go in and say, all right, I have $500. I want all these tests run. I can talk to a doctor for an hour. We can have a real discussion.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That
is
absolutely the way to go.
And they're doing it, and they're doing it in Oklahoma. They're doing it in Texas. They're doing it in other places.
Yeah, Bloomington had it for their city employees.
Yeah, and so being proactive in what they're looking at is really, really important. But a lot of us are under, if you're with a provider that's under a hospital, the hospital is under the insurance company. So they're all held to these standards that are just ridiculous, and they're really not there to make you more healthy, because the insurance company has a cap on all of it. And so the only way to do it is to actually have these providers that can really be true providers. Like why you went to medical school, so that you could find the problem with somebody and say, hey, you're borderline for blood pressure medication. I'm not going to put you on it. I'm going to give you 6 months to try to get your stuff in line.
Yep.
And it's interesting too with the GLP-1s. So the GLP-1s, the Ozempics, right? That's the big topic right now. The Ozempic, the shot,
right?
That people lose weight with.
Yeah.
So, and I'm getting kind of nichey with this, but that's the rates of all those have increased. GLP-1s, like even from the hospital side, everywhere they're all increased. That's the insurance companies increasing it all. You know why? Because when people, and I'm not saying the GLP-1 is the way to go, because it's not. It's for some people not. What they find out, let's say you're 350 pounds, Andrew, and you get on GLP-1, you start losing weight. Guess what? You don't have to be on your blood pressure medication anymore. You don't got to be on your diabetes medication anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Walmart seeing when people are starting to lose weight from the GLP-1s, they start selling less Twinkies.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has happened.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that in healthcare. And so what they're doing now, when you start hearing GLP-1s or the Ozempics and the prices of those being raised, just know that's the insurance companies doing that because they're afraid of you not being addicted, but reliant upon their medications for the rest of your life because you're their cash cow.
Do you think the pharmaceuticals have a place in that too, though? Because I mean, the accusation
No, they absolutely do.
Been that they're doing the same thing.
No, there's a middle ground. There's a middle group in there that's supposedly a patient advocate.
Yeah.
But they're not. So you got to listen to that podcast. It's really interesting, but it's 100% true from the medical side. I bet any physician would tell you it's true. Surgeon will tell you it's true.
Well, we saw some of that with COVID when, solutions that family doctors felt like they were comfortable with whether it was, the first one I can't remember, but then the ivermectin and some of those, they weren't allowed. I mean, they were basically would be shut down, completely shut down, and yet they had great success with it. Mm-hmm. And then it comes out afterwards. Oh yeah, by the way, not only was ivermectin completely safe way before COVID. I mean, it was already an established medicine. We had tremendous success with it.
Paxlovid's what you're talking about. Paxlovid was the medication.
No, the other one was the and I know we all said it so many times, but it was the malaria medicine. Was super cheap.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, everybody.
Paxlovid was an arthritis medication that was showing initially that it was preventing people from having terrible cases of COVID.
Yeah,
and that got regulated really quick.
Yeah. It's that whole thing.
But that's what those family docs were giving people was Paxlovid.
Okay, so it looks
Guess what
like
they're giving them now?
Some of these
Paxlovid.
other bills. This is interesting. So, and a lot of these won't see the light of day, but House Bill 1029 would close Indiana primary system. So it provides that a voter may vote at a primary election only if the voter is properly and timely affiliated with a political party. So, held by the So, I actually don't have a huge problem with that. I know a lot of people will be on both sides.
You have to pull one or the other.
Well, you do, but you can do it as a Democrat. You can pull a Republican ticket, and a Republican you can pull as a Democrat ticket. And in Vigo County, let me just tell you, folks, this would be highly unpopular.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen a county that switches parties so much in their primary voting. I mean, there's folks that are supposedly Republican and they vote Democrat all the time. What we can see, which is in the primary, yeah. So, and vice versa. Hey, if there's their favorite Republican, they want to get, to beat whoever. The Democrats will vote Republican. So, this bill would eliminate that and close the primary system so that. You have to be registered as a Republican, registered as a Democrat, and that is the way you have to vote. So you have to change your registration if you want to take the different.
What
party
if I registered as an independent?
Yeah, that
would be
eliminated.
For nobody.
That'd be eliminated. Yeah.
I mean, there's very few.
Or you couldn't vote in the primary.
Oh,
you could vote in the general, but not in the primary.
Oh wow.
So. Okay, there's a repeal of the death penalty. And then there was one more. So that I wanted. Did we talk about the assisted suicide?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. One's interesting.
That is super interesting. So this is House Bill 1011. Representative Pierce allows individuals with a terminal illness who meet certain requirements to make a request to attending provider for medication. That the individual may self-administer to bring about death. That doesn't sound like very good medication, Jimmy.
And providers are likely not going to want to give that.
Well, no.
They went to medical school to help people.
Yeah, some of them did. I mean, there are a lot of them that perform abortions. So I don't.
Well, I mean, not a lot. There's a few that do. Yeah, but not a lot. But I mean, the majority of them, like here, let's say here, or
Right.
they want to help people. So
Well, yeah.
they're going to try to get anything that you can do so that you don't have to go.
Right.
And there's no way that's going to go anywhere.
No.
I mean, because
but it is interesting, just because you should pay attention to how your rep, what bills they
it's
file.
got the name of the rep on it too.
Yeah, I think he's from Bloomington, Pierce from Bloomington. So that's great. Okay, so that probably gets us down to the end of the show. But did we have? This is the first podcast of the year.
Yes.
So New Year's resolutions, things we're going to do differently, and of course we have to talk about Snowgeddon that's about to hit us. So
I hope it ends up being like just a few inches. But
what?
well,
I
mean,
am rooting for 2 feet.
You don't have a 4-wheel drive though.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'll come with my snowshoes. I will come walk over to your house and we'll go sledding at Deming.
We'll drive the Subaru.
There you go. Come pick us up. We'll go sledding at Deming.
It'll go anywhere. It'll go anywhere.
Every year these people tease us with these, predictions of these great storms, and then we all get the McNeil household, we all get very disappointed.
We seem to be disappointed a lot around here
feel
with
like it
storms.
might be a conspiracy because we watch the weather report go from, oh my gosh, we're all going to die, to, well, it's getting less and less and less, and by the time it shows up, you get an inch, maybe, so. Yeah. But this one looks like it's pretty substantial.
It should be.
I mean, this is pretty substantial, so we're all excited.
We're excited about it. We didn't even talk about anything about the terrorist attack in New Orleans.
Well,
we're running out of time,
we're running out of time. That's one that, another podcast,
we should do that another one.
But that one, I will say this. I will say this just about one of the episodes. So there was 2 episodes. Obviously, the Tesla that was blown up by this guy out in front of the Trump hotel was that in Vegas?
Yeah.
And then obviously the tragic. No, it's not tragic. It's despicable and it's evil.
It's terrible.
The radical Muslim that with the ISIS flag on his pickup that mowed the people down in New Orleans. So, but the Tesla. I mean, I kind of saw a little bit of a prophetic sign in this. Did you see that at all? So what this guy's wanting to do? He hates Trump. His girlfriend hate Trump. And Elon's been helping Trump, so they're going to take this Tesla and they're going to blow it up, and the Cybertruck, and they're going to blow it up and cause this massive damage to the front of Trump's whatever
Trump Tower, yeah.
And because that Cybertruck was built so well, it just blew straight up. Didn't even crack the windows on the front of the hotel. It was a nothing burger. But I mean, prophetically, if you look at that, I mean, is that a stretch prophetically? But I'm going to say, no, probably not. I mean, I think God's protecting Trump. I think Elon is under attack. There's no doubt he is under attack.
Yeah.
People hate it that he is supportive of the Trump agenda, and I don't know. I mean, it was not anything. It was not allowed to harm.
And I didn't know that they knew who the guy was, but then you told me that if somebody has a Cybertruck, it's essentially hooked up to the network.
Elon was like, here's when it last charged. Here's what it looked like. Here's what they did. I mean, they had the whole thing. And he goes, all of our systems, they knew it wasn't a battery thing really, really quick. Yeah. And the battery doesn't do that anyway. It's a slow burn, and it burns from below the vehicle if there is a battery
There was gas
issue.
cans in the back of cans in the back of a Cybertruck. That should be...
Okay, real quick. Predictions for
a red flag.
Or goals.
For next year?
No, for this year. We're in
this year?
Yeah, anything you want to say, and then obviously we got to wrap up. Not because we're getting tired, because we're not getting tired.
No.
But most folks will not watch to the end of this video, and that is really sad, folks. It's just... Maybe we should do more episodes instead of doing such long ones. But anyway,
I would like to not be last in our fantasy football next year.
Oh, were you absolutely?
I'm absolute last. Yes, absolutely last.
Well, everybody remembers that Andrea won it last year, and this year is it over?
It's done.
Did Hadassah win or lose?
Hadassah won.
So my daughter Hadassah won
against my wife.
I was the number 1 team going into the playoffs, and then I played Hadassah in the playoffs, and she blew up. She scored over 200 points.
I know. Yeah,
it was
no chance.
It didn't matter what kind of a day I was having.
Chance.
It was over, which was it's fine. So a McNeil woman wins the McCanna McNeil Fantasy League 2 years in a row.
That's pretty good.
I was second last year and third.
We
this
did
year.
take second and third.
I might have been fourth. Yeah, because I might.
Yeah,
have
we
lost
took
my,
McCanna's took second, and third.
Yeah,
both females.
Yeah,
my daughter and my wife both took second.
Yeah, but
third.
how much behind the scenes is Connor? Is it Connor pulling the strings here?
No, those were Allison's picks.
Oh,
doesn't matter. It's a family affair. But hey, it was still drafted that way.
Yeah,
it was still drafted that way, and it really
Connor, we're on to you, buddy.
It didn't matter.
We are on to you,
it didn't
buddy.
matter who you drafted anyway this year. It all ends up about midway through the year who's hurt and who you pick up off the bench.
It was something. So, any big plans for the new year?
No, I'm excited about this year though.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really,
me too.
I'm really excited.
January
about
20th. I mean, I'm going to be glued to the television. I love Inauguration Day when it's a decent president. Honestly, it's been a while.
You're going to be glued to the television. You really watch that stuff.
I love it.
I don't have any drive at all to watch it.
To watch the inauguration?
No, it's just a bunch of walking around. I don't know. I'm just not really. I mean, you've already won the election. That was kind of like the.
But it's so exciting. Suddenly he's president, and then he goes to the White House and signs all those executive orders, and then goes back to the.
He's actually been the president for the last 4 years.
Yeah, well, no, he hasn't, but he should have been. So, well, folks, that's all we've got for you tonight, today, and we really appreciate you watching. Especially if you watch, you should get a prize if you watch
some kind of prize.
Episode 36 in the books. Any parting thoughts?
We left an Easter egg in the room. If you can tell what the Easter egg is, comment below and see if you can understand or have pity on whoever in this. Right, but thanks for watching. We appreciate you staying with us the whole time. The MC Square Podcast at gmail.com. Put comments in our YouTube. That always helps. Yep. Even if they're small comments, even if you made it to the end, comment you made it to the end because you did it. Good job, 2025. Right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Yep.
I got a fire in me. You're gonna set to burn.